So, a few weeks ago, my boyfriend Igor and I, we were hanging out on the sofa, and he turns to me and says, "Liv, what do you think the likelihood is that we'll still be together in 3 years' time?" So, naturally, we both took a pen and paper and wrote down our 3-year predictions and threw in our 1-year and 10-year ones for good measure. And these are the results. Fortunately, we are pretty much aligned. And because we're both professional poker players, we're very much used to thinking about all kinds of things in terms of probabilities, even potentially emotional topics like this one. But I certainly wasn't always rational around probabilities. For example, the very first time I played poker. It was 2005, and I just graduated university from here in Manchester, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life yet. So, naturally, I started applying for game shows. And the first show I got on, turned out to be a reality show that took 5 beginners and taught them how to play poker. And, well, I was one of those beginners, and then we would compete for a winner-take-all prize of £100,000. So huge money, especially for a graduate with a ton of debt. So in one of the first games, we start playing, and I get dealt 2 aces, which are the best starting hands in poker. And before I knew it, I'd gotten all my chips in the middle. And then my opponent, they get really lucky and hit a miracle card, and I'm out of the game. But it's fine, because I handle it with a calm, stoic dignity. Or so I wish. No, in fact, I end up having a complete meltdown, cry at the tables, and embarrass myself on national TV. And why did I do that? Well, I did it because I was shocked. Even though I'd been told to expect that aces will lose around 20% of the time, my internal dial just very much didn't feel like a 20%er could actually happen. But we are not all perfect scientists. In fact, far from it. And we make many mistakes in how we think and speak around probabilities. And it's some of these mistakes that I want to talk to you guys about today. So the first of these is our tendency to assume that something is a certainty when it's not. In other words, to assign 100% probability to something. But 100% probabilities are extremely, extremely rare. And this is known as the overconfidence bias, where we tend to be overconfident in the strength of our beliefs and convictions. And this can lead us to a cardinal sin. Gambling without even realizing that we're gambling. And perhaps the best example of this is the 2008 financial crisis, which was largely contributed to by the assumption that the house prices across the entirety of the US couldn't all go down at the same time. But they could, and they did, and it was that kick-started the chain reaction that created the largest economic disaster since the Great Depression. And it's because we knew of this bias that Igor and I decided to ask each other that awkward question about whether we think we'll be together, or the likelihood that we'll be together in 3 years' time, because we're now at that critical stage where we're thinking about things like marriage and buying a house together, or maybe moving country. And well, imagine if we went full steam ahead, assuming we're 100% to be together, but maybe our percentage is actually only 60%. So it's crucially important to take a moment to question what it is you think you're certain about. And especially if it's to do with your relationships, then, well, we have to have these frank, quantified discussions from time to time with our loved ones about the things that, well, these potential worst cases. And I like to think of it as taking an insurance policy out on your emotions, where you pay the awkward premium up front, but you're then better safeguarded should the worst case happen. And another mistake we tend to make is we tend to treat near certainties too similarly to one another. So if you look at these 2 percentages, they look kind of the same, right? But actually, there's a huge difference between the two. For example, if all the nuclear reactors in the world had a safety rating of A instead of B, then instead of us having a 50-50 chance of some kind of nuclear accident every 15 years, we'd expect to have one every 1.5 years. And that would obviously be a huge, huge problem. And you all remember that scene in The Matrix where Neo has the best bit, where he has that breakthrough, where he starts seeing the whole world as it really is and all the little green bits of code trickling down? Well, we too can learn to see the world in probabilities. You can. And then when we do, we'll actually be better equipped to handle all the good and bad luck that life might throw at us. Because while we'll never be certain which path our future will take, we can control the likelihoods of the paths that we want. Thank you.